disappearance of soldier Vanessa Guillen. Federal prosecutors say a suspect in custody claims to know how she was killed and how her body was disposed of. Guillen's heartbroken family is demanding justice and accusing the Army of failing to take her disappearance seriously. Here's ABC's Diane Macedo.
Tonight, the Justice Department is painting a gruesome picture of what they believe happened to missing Fort Hood soldier Vanessa Guillen. Federal prosecutors say 22-year-old Cecily Aguilar, a civilian, confessed to helping boyfriend Army Specialist Aaron Robinson get rid of Guillen's body. The complaint quotes Aguilar saying Robinson told her on April 22nd he'd killed a female soldier by striking her in the head with a hammer multiple times, then moved her body in a box to a location near the Leon River in Belton, Texas. Aguilar allegedly told authorities she'd then helped Robinson dismember the body and attempted to burn it, adding she later recognized Private First Class Vanessa Guillen. Authorities say Robinson killed himself Wednesday morning. The developments come after partial human remains were found near the Leon River on Tuesday. Positive identification is still pending. Guillen's family says before she vanished, the 20-year-old claimed she'd been sexually harassed by a superior, but was afraid to report it.
Ever since she came into Fort Hood, her personality just changed. She wasn't the same person.
The Army is still investigating those claims, but says they found no evidence that Guillen was sexually harassed. The family's attorney today accused Fort Hood of keeping the family in the dark.
The very least they could have done was provide answers for that family.
She wanted to join the Army to have better opportunities for herself and for my parents. That's what she wanted to join, to protect and serve, but yet they failed her.
I'm sure you guys have all heard of the Vanessa Guillen story by now. She was only 20 years old and went missing over 2 months ago, and we're just now getting to the bottom of things. This is just now coming out to the public. And instead of just taking care of it, the military did what it always does, protects its own. Just like the Catholic Church. See, when one of these priests get caught molesting a child and it gets reported, he's not immediately arrested. He won't even get arrested because it isn't reported to the police. They just report amongst each other. So the report just gets passed up their hierarchy. Same happens with the military. People seldomly get held accountable for sexual preying on men and women in the military, especially if you are a decorated sergeant or squadron leader. So today, while the world is waking up to the sick rape and homosexuality culture that plagues our Army, I'm going to shed light on a few other cases whose voices probably wouldn't ever get heard if it wasn't for this big outrage that's going on right now. And right before we do that, let's take a look at one more thing. A few years prior, there was a huge prostitution ring bust at the same exact military base that Vanessa was killed on, Fort Hood. Guess who was leading this prostitution ring? The sergeant that was in charge of helping sexual assault victims. I cannot make this up. The sergeant who's in charge of helping sexual assault victims, male and female, was actually running the prostitution ring. And who was his clientele? Higher up, generals, sergeants, etc. That's who his clientele was. Okay, here's the news clip.
The prostitution ring at Fort Hood has been revealed, reminding this country that female soldiers face additional obstacles while serving in our military, and clearly we are not doing enough to protect them. Sergeant First Class Gregory McQueen has pled guilty to 15 of 21 charges that included pandering, which is to recruit prostitutes. In addition, the judge in McQueen's court-martial demoted him and sentenced him to 2 years in prison along with a dishonorable discharge. Now, this deal allowed him to actually escape 6 additional charges that would have sent him to prison for 40 years. So it was a great deal for McQueen. It did, of course, help enlighten the country that these problems are running amok in our military. Obviously terrible, but there's a rub about the whole thing. McQueen was his battalion's point man preventing sexual assaults as part of the U.S. Army's Sexual Harassment, Assault Response, and Prevention Unit, also known as SHARP, at Fort Hood. He was ultimately, in fairness, removed from this post because he was described as inadequate by a fellow sergeant, unorganized, and did not seem to care about the mission of training soldiers on SHARP issues. Pretty disgusting, if you ask me.
More than 100,000 men have been sexually assaulted in the military in recent decades. This is Paul Lloyd, who's now 30, but he was only 17 when he joined the Army National Guard. When he was assaulted one night in the shower after everyone else had gone to bed, he said he told no one, even when he ended up in the hospital the next day with an internal bleeding and torn rectum, and doctors asked him what happened. He said, nothing, because I was raised in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and he said he would have felt ashamed. Jeremiah Aboga says he was drugged to the point of incapacitation and sexually assaulted by a fellow Marine and a former staff sergeant. Marcel Edwards joined the Air Force in 1981. She was 21 years of age. A male friend who was also a soldier came over to her apartment. It turned sexual. He ended up pinning her down and raping her while her 2 daughters were in the next room. Morgan, who is still currently on active duty, was repeatedly sexually assaulted by a command sergeant major while on deployment in Afghanistan. She says she stood no chance. Once you're deployed somewhere, it's just you, your fellow soldiers, and your commanding officers. And your commanding officers are preying on you from the start. Jordan was 20 when she joined the military. One night she was complaining about stress from training plus school, and she was offered pills to help her relax by a fellow airman. She later woke up drowsy in the middle of the night with him on top of her, raping her. United States Senator Martha McSally, the first female Air Force fighter pilot to fly in combat, said on Wednesday that she had been raped by a superior officer. And later, when she tried to talk about it to military officials, she said, quote, "I felt like the system was raping me all over again." Wow. So understand, guys, this is not a new problem, but a problem America is just now starting to wake up to. Our military was literally engaging in rape since the beginning. You guys think that what you're seeing now is bad. What do you think was happening from World War I up to the 70s? Men were getting their cheeks busted left and right. And there was no one to tell. That's even if you did have the courage to tell. Most men didn't want to lose their masculinity or their macho swag, so they'll bury that deep down inside and keep on going with life. But statistics show that most of these men wash out of the military, turning to drugs and alcohol. See, everyone assumes that all these soldiers over the many decades who were diagnosed with PTSD got it from live combat. Wrong. Studies suggest that rape and sexual assault is one of the most leading causes of PTSD in the military. Rape is violent and traumatizing. 45% of women and 65% of men who reported being raped met criteria for having PTSD. It's crazy, and the numbers aren't even anywhere close to being accurate because no one wants to come forward. The military makes it hard and treats you like you did something when you come forward to report being victimized. The women are scared to come forward, or most don't want to give that power back to the rapist, so they rather show them through strength by working up in the ranks despite of what they've been through. I wanted to also add that a lot of men who are sexually assaulted in the military adopt that abuse and then start abusing others, especially if they were raped themselves in the name of hazing or initiation. Hazing is one of the most common type of sexual assaults in the military, which is really just a way for the supposed tough masculine soldiers, well, at least that's how America paints them. Hazing is just an excuse for them to express who they really are, which is down low booty bandits preying on other men and women like it's the tough, cool thing to do, but really them themselves got slapped up and manhood took, and they just never properly dealt with the trauma. And it doesn't just go with the military. This gay down low plague of hazing is in our police departments, fire, corporate America, sports, college fraternities. Don't get me started on how bad sexual abuse is in the name of hazing in fraternities. If you know anyone in a fraternity, there's a high chance that he was sexually assaulted. Whether he laughed it off and just took it as initiation and being one of the boys, or whether it still bothers him today. The chances are very high. This problem plagues our military, and most of the victims get nothing in return but a tent under the freeway and a bottle of liquor. Stay tuned for part 2 when we go even deeper into the world of hazing in the American society. Like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell.